there. It was funny. Our son was like, "Oh, who do you have tonight?" And I always tell him, and he's like, "Oh, uh-oh."
Uh-oh.
Like he just knows somebody's head's gonna hurt when you like it talking.
He
Oh,
goes too far. It's too much. So my mother said to me the other day, "It's too much. How do you?" And then I was with my father and his wife, and then she was like talking to me about some shit, and I just looked at her. I go, "Why would you get your information from the news when you know they lie to you?" And she was like, "What?" I go, "The news is a propaganda machine. You believe what they tell you on the news." That was when the last time when they would even write about the weather. And then she was like, "Wait a second." I go, "Come on now." We started talking, and then I was telling her that I know Larry Sinclair through old music stuff, the guy that supposedly was with Obama
oh,
in his book and everything. So I
oh.
know all these crazy, s- things that are going on. And she was like, "No way." And I showed her all this stuff, and I'm like, you think his wife's not a man?" And then I showed her all this stuff, and she went, "Are you kidding me?" I go, "You don't know about any of this, and you're 70, and you're like in touch with your inner self and all that." I'm like, "You guys are crazy." My father goes, "They're taking the fluoride out of the water. It's the best news I ever heard." I was like, "Yeah, thank God."
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. I gotta hit record.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll give you an intro here. I'm gonna wave so I know where to cut my audio. Welcome everybody back to the After Dark Show. I'm Don Rogers. I'm always happy to have my guest tonight back because it's always a great conversation. And I could talk to this guy every day because him and I are just kind of on the same wavelength. He is a New York neo shaman, a high vibration musician, founding member of Heist Click, and somebody I consider a friend at this point in my life. And it is Fearless Frank Castle. Thank you for coming back, Frank.
Thank you for having me, my brother. It's fantastic to be here. I will say this before we start: prepare for the frequency because it's going to get high, right? Tonight, once again, we go to the deep end. Thank you, everyone out there that takes the time to listen to us and take in any of the information. Take in only the information that you feel necessary to take in. Everything else, just disregard if it's too
Exactly.
much.
Yes. Exactly. So I actually was like instantly inspired to have you back on because I caught your episode of Fearless Revelations September 28th. Spin and I were actually at a astral fair and caught it in the hotel room. It was our night's entertainment actually. So it was a really cool show and I actually re-listened to part of it today. And you covered a lot of amazing subjects and I was wondering if we'd be able to go into some of that tonight.
Absolutely. Whatever you want to talk about. I am an open book with this.
Um So one of the first things you were talking about is basically the war. You used a chessboard reference and the interdimensional interference, AI and demons.
Okay, there's a lot there. We could unpack some of it if you like.
I would love it.
Right? So people here at this time, let's say in the US, everyone is like um they want people to vote for Trump, right? You're like, I'm gonna vote for one of the people, right or left, let's say. And I'm afraid to mention certain names because I don't want to get anyone in trouble, right? So um they say go get out and vote and do something. Now, if I go out and vote when I am here to observe, right? I am asking for a system to stay in place. I've graduated. Now, people that have died for their country do not want to hear this. And they don't believe in any of this stuff I'm talking about because I have generational people here that were screaming at me. But I can't go against this. Now, why is that? Because you have to do this. The people that do it, you're drawn and compelled to do it. Uh, you're still going to be here. round after round because you're not complete with your lessons in the universal structure. The matrix may fall and everything becomes twinkle and highlights, but you're going to be on an Earth or an Earth-like planet where you're still working out your karma. I have absolved my karma. I am beyond that. I'm actually been helping with the house's karma. So generational, ancestral, that had nothing to do with me, but because I live here now, I'm helping it. Let me get back. So if I vote for the system, then I'm asking to have a system in place for me to be ruled. I'm here to teach, right? I'm above the system with many others. Yes, I live in the system and I am part of the system, like in turn, just like everyone else is, but I have a different function within this system. I still am a rebel. I still find my way to smile and smirk at things that I probably shouldn't. And every once in a while, I say some things I shouldn't, just like everyone else. At someone that'll involve me in the chessboard. Now, on the chessboard, what is on the chessboard? Characters are on the chessboard like pawns, bishops, kings, queens. Now, I am a player of my board. I'm not on the board as a character to be moved around by another being. Interference from a higher level, a different space, a different area that we're not witnessing, that can manipulate you still into, let's say, my mother would say, if I had the energy, it was 20 years ago, I'd be at the protests. I'd be protesting everything. I'm like, but that's not getting anywhere. When you do that now, you're targeted. You'd put everybody here in jeopardy just by being out there saying something stupid. While the other system is in place, you have to remember it's breaking down and handing over the baton to the new energy, the age of Aquarius, we'll say, to keep it simple. So the old system that's been run in a loop, by the way, it hasn't been handed over properly in many, many of these turns, has to crumple and fall. So if you're out there in the protests, you might get protest things that happen to you, right? I can't protect you in that. I can't protect you if I put myself in a place. Doesn't matter how vibrationally high my spiritual essence is, I'm not getting in the cage with the tiger. I have common sense and I'm not here for that. I'm not here to prove anything to anyone. I'm here to awaken in my mission to complete a contract that I promised planet Earth, Mother Ayahuasca, Gaia, whatever you want to call her, the world tree. So I can help my wife, who is my other, that's my partner. She is to rise really high in this as that motherly feminine frequency energy. If we're on the board where we can be moved and played by other characters, because most people are not aware of the chessboard, even though they put it in everything to tell you. And a lot of times, like, these elites will have the checkerboard floor and then you'll see them dancing across it wearing a mask. Like, so I'm not here to wear a mask. I'm not here to choose a side. But I tell people this is how I'll explain it. I'm Source, right? So I'm on Source's side, right? And Source doesn't have enemies. I love all of you. This is a learning thing that you're here to learn, but I'm here to witness and observe. Okay, with that, my job is also to help people up. Most of the people that I help are already getting into position. They already know they want it. It's not like I'm helping you. I'm like just helping guide you for a minute until you shift into the awareness of, wow, this is it. I go, see, there you go. Now you're in charge. You're the boss, not me. I don't, I'm telling my story as parables. And so a lesson can be learned, information can be given within it. The story is there to show the archetypal structure of the hero's journey. None of this is made up. I don't go read other people's books. I don't study into other people's stuff. Never have, never will. I'm sitting back now and I'm watching like even channelers like Bashar. And I always gave credence to some of these guys, but I also had like this intense gnosis drop thinking about him today. And I'm like, Daryl, the guy that channels him, because Bashar came out and said, if you don't get Kamala Harris to win, you don't get disclosure. And it really shocked a lot of people. So I was like, wow, it's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life, right? If you want the timeline change to the gold, you get everything. I don't need just disclosure. I need the whole. So I got really upset because I was like, well, they're nice people. So you just like, well, he's been doing it a long time. Wait a second. He works in Hollywood. He literally does special effects in Hollywood. He's one of them. I won't say he's on any list or anything, but bought and paid for? Sure. Allowed to do it his way? Sure. Allowed to give 10% truth, because you got to give a little bit of truth, get everybody going. And then 90% more indoctrination of some kind, which is why when I was trying to channel one day with my wife, I said, oh, it's going to happen. Bashar showed up and Abraham. And Bashar was an ET and Abraham was like a golden Ankh of some kind, slightly angelic. It wasn't a being like you would think, like looking like us. When Bashar was an ET, and right when they were trying to both vied for jumping in and answering questions, they were very excited. And I was looking at them like, wow, that's what this look. This is crazy. Ayahuasca just appeared right next to me and said, absolutely not. Used to both have your own agendas, right? And you never asked me if any of your agenda or your agenda is okay. Frank and Paula are with me. And I'm like, yeah, I'm her ambassador. So when people are like, I'm an ambassador from the Galactic Federation or some shit like that, that's cool. And I am part of a lot of that stuff. But my task here is to be Gaia's ambassador. Right? So that's my overall. I am with her. I speak for her when she cannot speak for the scenario herself. So if I'm there and it's going down, it's my responsibility to speak on it, period. And she and the process will take care of the rest. And that's how we work this. I'm not a player on the board. In Clash of the Titans, the chessboard, the Anunnaki characters from Olympus were moving the characters into position. And then they were also dropping artifacts for them from the higher realm. So you picture like 5D or 4D characters dropping stuff into position in 3D for the characters they're moving into position. I'm like, they've been telling us this whole time. I'm talking about the old one from the 80s. I saw that one like 1,000 times. And then I it takes a long time to put it all together, but they put it in everything. If you start to look now at everything, you'll see the checkerboard and everything. So if you're on that checkerboard, like an actor is acting and they're on the board, cults or like the Masons or something like that, right? They're always walking on that because they're playing a role, right? So they're top function characters running them. with rules and regulations and all kinds of stuff. I am a free being, 100%. I am Source, the individual known as, Frankie, and I'm here with a specific function. But I'm also pulling together all my timelines and all my people as well, and it covers everything from, apparently, I found this out on one of my last experiences. Inner Earth is where my buck stops and starts at the same time, and then goes straight up into the galactics, making the choice to stay in this loop with everyone and then breaking the cycle by anchoring the energy. But because it all happens in one glorious sneeze within a sphere, all the time is in this, you go in and it happens all at once. It's where your focus is. I was able to pull, just like everyone who's aware, but to be more detailed, my consciousness out of the darkness and become fully aware that I am here and I'm more than, and I am above some of this now because I've already done this, first of all. But you have to be humble, but recognize what you are. And I say this all the time now. Source doesn't have enemies. Gods do, right? Gods are always fighting and everything. How you beating Source? Oh, we're not even fighting Source. We're fighting each other in 4D and 3D and whatever we conquer in 2D and whatever we do over here in Dimension X. Like, it's like, oh, okay, so you guys realize that the ones that are aware that they're literally Source, but also allowed to be the individual, they are not playable characters. They can't be taken over. They can't be told what to do. They can't be conquered. They can't be abolished. They can't be kept out, locked out, shut down. Nothing. So it's a different thing, right? And you're like, well, what about the red or the blue? Aren't you going to make the choice? No. You guys are making the choice. I'm here to witness the choice being made. I'm here to observe this from here. I'll make my moves according to yours. Don't worry. See, you're on the board. So you're a playable character. I can see you moving in from the left and the right. The damage you're causing to this, that, the other thing. How people are thinking here, 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 and here. And how I am just all of them. And I get how the NPC running ones are like, beep, boop, bop, boop, beep, boop, beep, right? And then you're just like, I get it. I get it. I understand. Right? It's the weirdest thing. And then you go to the ones that are like uber patriotic and you completely understand. Man, if I have to watch another Mel Gibson movie, right, where he's just standing up for himself and his country and everything, like, I get it. I was both already. I was already king. I was queen as well. I know that sounds funny. I'm on the ships all the time. I'm talk to the creatures, the beings. The architecture speaks. If you listen, everything is frequency and vibration. Those signs and symbols resonate when you drink ayahuasca at a low level or you eat mushrooms at a low level. And you stare at these signs and symbols, they spin and teach you lessons. The architecture comes to life and shows you through whatever decorative stuff is on the walls, the reality of it. A little bit, you watch it play out. A lot of it, you step into it. Even more, you go back to when you were it and you're there. It's not a lesson, you're there. You have wisdom that you have now gained through like hypnosis. You're just like, wow, I went. There's nothing you can say about that. Like when people talk about Amun Ra, I go, they killed us. They unalived all the creator beings that were here by claiming fake bloodline. So when you're like, oh, Amun Ra, I'm like, that's the fake one. I was there. They tied me up and threw me behind a wall wrapped up with my entire bloodline stacked on top of each other while we were still alive. And then just all our animals and everything, and then just closed the door. And we're like, fuck them. Oh, we're back. Right? So you guys got to play this stuff out. And I don't mean, when I say you guys, I'm not talking to anyone specific. You know who I'm talking about, the ones on the chessboard. The protesters can't get involved. The voters can't get involved. Why? Because the minute I step in, I've just made comments about life, and people are like, oh, Trump fan. He's obviously voting for Trump. And I'm like, I'm talking about like how to up your game in life and stuff. I don't. How did you come to that assumption? Maybe because he's doing the right thing. Like, see, there I go. I got involved, but I have to at some point. But then they're like, you went and voted. I'm like, no, I didn't. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry to all the people that had blood, sweat, and tears, but you guys didn't realize that right now our ancestors just need rebels. They see that the whole thing was taken over. We're watching some military drama script play out. We're just watching it play out. Everything's going to become super obvious, and then they're going to slowly tell you the whole thing. So all the crying and the sweating, you're just pawns on the board. 9 to 5 work. That 85% of it is unnecessary in this world. You're going to come to the realization, wow, I'm just like a cog in the machine. It's okay. I was a cog in the machine. It's where we go. It's how you start. You're like, I'm lost. And then I realize what's up. I become aware. I find myself. And then I move into a new position. This is where we're at. So on the higher level, there are beings trying to control the board. So there's, I think I covered quickly. That's as fast as I could do it. That whole thing that you mentioned, there's underboard, the underrealm. Yeah. You can pass under the board. It's not the like hell or anything. It's just another realm right below us where you can access and move under the board, pop up on the board. This is a spiritual game, but it's a war on the front of the board. So if you wake up every day, you pick up your sword, you're going to fight. That's why I say watch using your light sword after a while. It's great. We get every demon out there. After a while, the demons come to you for help, and you're like, what? Dude, no one's going to hurt you. There's not a being out there that wants any beef with you right now if you're aware of who you are. They only want to be down with you or not near you at all. Just you standing there is enough. Dude, Don, you ever stand in a room and piss everyone off just for standing there? Like,
yeah.
Oh, it's this fucking guy. Oh, bah, 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 bah. And you're like, really? What did I do? No, it's what you're doing that you're not aware of you're doing. The blue ray in us is so potent that it vibrates out and transmutes everything. So everyone sends their hate at you. Now, you would think they have unlimited hate, but really each person internally, as they're releasing this, and they're saying it, and it's getting transmuted, eventually you run out of steam. I'm infinite. I don't run out of steam. Right? So when you power that down, it's like, oh, I feel a little bit better. Maybe I shouldn't have said all that. If you're aware of yourself in the presence of other beings, you'll learn your lesson and not do that again. You'll be like, oh, I feel better. Okay, maybe that was a little too harsh, a little too much. And now you're aware of a little bit more. So we're there taking hits like that nonstop. This is why they were saying, I've said this the whole time. Aya showed me people that at some point the high vibrational people have to kind of leave their positions and move into positions together, right? Like we start taking areas that we want to be in. And people will want to be down like you're a rock star, but they won't be able to handle the frequency. And that's all it'll be. They won't be, you'll still go to your job or whatever you're doing, but people will run up on you and then they purge because they don't have the higher frequency. If you turn around and stare at them like, watch, what'd you say? And you look at them, they go, oh my God. Oh, bleh. So in one of my Aya sessions, people were like throwing up on me and I was wearing like white and I kept having to change it, going, what the hell is going on? They're like, you're too high frequency. You got to back it down a little, or you got to leave. You got to go over here where they can't come in. So I'm like, well, that's really weird. But when I went into this area, there was a whole bunch of us in there and more people by the day will show up. And I was like, oh, that's how that works. We got to start like grouping it together at some point because it'll be too much for people. Right? Some people just hate you too. They'll throw rocks at you. They'll be deathly afraid of you. They'll be like, oh, these guys are turning into stuff. Everything's a demon to a lot of people, you know?
Yep. I, you actually Spinge is laughing in the background because this has literally been happening to us lately. Just people like freaking the fuck out and just like nah, and it's like, what did we do?
Yeah, it's your energy.
Yeah. Um,
It
just
it
a
just fled.
couple of quick things. Lexi Blue in the chat says, "How's Paula Frank?" And she also digs your shirt and says, "Where's Bizarro?"
Bizarro's in the Upside Down tonight. He'll be there. I'm straight Man of Steel now. Alien from another place, total solar being, here to just help, right? Has the power to turn back time, right? Has the power of having having others remember with the kiss, right? So it's a different game now. That
Yeah.
was that character, Superman, is us activated. So yes, Bizarro is all me, Bizarro, awesome. However, I'm flipping it. I'm straight Superman. Let's go. Let's rock and roll. Where's my other Kryptonians? Let's do this. Because ain't none of us from here. And Lexi, you know I love you, by the way.
Dude, I was literally born where Superman was shot
Look at that. See?
in around the same time.
Don, you probably came down in the capsule too, bro. They found you out in the field in
No,
Canada. Nobody said nothing to you, though.
yeah,
Don't let him
just let
know
him
who he
go.
is.
He's free.
He'll put on a cape.
um, on that note, you were talking about the ships earlier. Do you want to share the experience? Well, I'll share my part of the experience if you want to share what happened with you this afternoon. So this is
Sure.
just for the listeners, viewers. Today at work, I drive for a living. I drive a septic truck. I know, gross, but it pays well, right? And if you got a 9 to 5, you may as well make your life okay with it. So I was driving into Calgary, and I texted Spinja. I use speech to text while I'm driving, of course. Drive safe, right? I'm like, there's like a fleet of disc-shaped clouds over top of Calgary, and then I corrected myself and said 30 to 40. I continued on with my job for what seemed like another hour, and I was using my app, and I realized I was like an hour ahead. So I went to my next stop and continued driving and looked at my app again, and I was only 40 minutes ahead. So I literally lost 20 minutes in the city of Calgary today that is just gone. So before the show, I was telling Frank about this, who thought that was fascinating and had something to add to it, which is just kind of mind blowing. So
Check it
you're
out.
muted.
So, yeah, no. All
Oh,
right.
there.
So, Don goes through this experience. I um take a nap right here from like I woke up at 7 o'clock. I was down at like 4 o'clock, 4ish. I wake up, I come downstairs, I see my wife on the couch. I run over to Paula and I go, "Hey, I'm going to channel some stuff right now." I was just feeling super high, vibrational, and I was just thinking of Don. So I was like, "Oh, let's see what's going to come in. This is going to be interesting. I just want to see what's going to happen." And instead of channeling anything, I'm standing in like um, I'm on the ship, and I like go to a room, and the door opens like it just kind of opens up, and Don's inside, and I'm like, "Oh, he's teaching class." And I come inside, and I realize that he's teaching an entire classroom of people from it's really weird from the outside, um or when the holodeck is off, the holodeck room is off, it's small. Everyone there, and then when you activate it, it has all the room it needs to make anything occur, which is one of the wildest things. You had an entire classroom in there. I went in and I started talking to you. And then I was like, "Am I interrupting?" And you were like, "No." And everybody was like looking at me. I was looking at you, and we were chatting about today and other stuff. And I'm like, "Look at that. I'm really up here again instead of just, see, it's what you need, not what you want sometimes. The unit, my higher self is like, You want something good? This is what you need to see. You guys are now." So I was in a position where Don was not too long ago, but for 10 years. And then the new came in. Me and Don talked about this on the last show, right? Or the first show. We're being up on the ship.
Yeah.
Hey, it's time to get to work. Okay. So the new wave of beings came in and they started becoming aware, not born in. The ones that are here are waking up. So I noticed my position with my show, my clients with ayahuasca, everything's changing. And I'm like, what's happening? Why is it changing like this? But it's kind of changing for the good. It's just different. But then I show up and I'm like, oh, Don's in my position. We traded out. So I'm on the next thing. I'm getting ready to do this. And then he's going to finish up teaching these cats. And in an even shorter period of time, because of what's happening here on the planet, they're going to be aware and go into position. And then Don's going to be over here where I'm at. And then I don't know what I'll be doing, but it looks like we're bringing the waves in together. So you have missing time from today, and then I go and check, and we're on the ship together. And I could guarantee you during some of that there's overlap with the time I was napping here and the time you
Yeah.
were where you live.
Yeah. No, it actually does line up. And I just wanted to share that because you never really get to hear the actual play-by-play stories when somebody has missing time and somebody can confirm it. Like, it's kind of a cool
Well,
experience.
yeah, definitely. Polo was like, it's a school within a school within a school within a school. Like, you guys got to remember that. Like, it's a heist within a heist within a heist. Like, keep remembering, right? Because my last few things have been more earthbound, inner earth stuff, my experiences. And then to recognize the ship again, I was like, it feels like home on the ship. That's where it feels like home. It feels good in my heart. I'm like, oh, I love this place. But also in Inner Earth, I got a spot, and I'm like, oh, look at this. This is glorious. So there's kind of two things going on with me. I focus on one and I forget about the other a little bit. Like, what's more important, what's more relevant? It's all relevant, it's all important. You just got to take in what's in front of you and stop asking for so many things at once. Right? Like, you're already here with a being. What do you want? More beings? What do you want? 10 more? 15 more? You need to talk to all 15 at the same time? And I'm like, I get it. I get it. Just dial it down a notch. They're like, yeah, focus on the now moment. Watch what happens. And then everyone's here. And I'm like, whoa. It's like just when you go to the eye doctor and he makes you cover one eye, and then yeah, I'm not part of the Illuminati. I'm just getting glasses. Right. So you cover one eye, and then he goes, so what's clearer, one or two? And it goes, and then it gets a little clearer, one or two. And he does it a few times What is this clearer, A or B? And then you have to tell him, and then he dials in your visual to become clearer. And then you cover the other eye and you do it again, and then you get your prescription for glasses once you're finished with that test. When I speak about dialing in, it's kind of like that, but from here, the middle of my head and my heart. It's like, because I can see something I don't want to see or don't need to see, or sometimes with what I have open on me as an ability, it's hard to see everything at once because I could see it all. So you kind of have to dial it back a little bit, right? And you have to focus on what do you want. If not, you're just a glowing guy standing in the middle of all this stuff happening, and you're like, bro, where should I focus on? But there's so much stuff inside the circus. I don't know where to look. It's like, yeah, you take a breath, relax, and then activate. Right? Your heart space then opens and you're like, oh, this is what they mean. So I'm actually one giant brain. It's like my brain, my heart, and my gut are really one brain that was separated for probably due to the enemy messing with the human framework. And now I'm like a giant telemetry antenna, and I have to trust my gut. I have to know it within my heart. You know, I have to speak my truth. Like, all these things have to occur to get and then I have to think about it for a second. But if I overthink it, it's been too long. If I underthink it, I didn't think enough. And look what I did. Wasn't prepared. Okay. On the higher level, you don't deal with all that. It's like one thing that happens. Right. And we're learning to put all that together. And they made in us that reptilian mind, the gene that does that. It's like a warship gene and a dominator gene and things like that, that would make that in your nature. So you'd be in the nature to be that kind of character, like it's added to you. So you're like, ah, that is going to be kind of dialed down in this evolution process, and everything else is going to start dialing up. Right. So you're going to have like hyper compassion, hyper love, hyper genuine just things will be genuine. You'll be like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. You'll be able to put that flexible energy out there. You know, all of that is so important because on the next level, you also get the ETs. So unless you want to act like a fainting goat when you see some of these things, you have to get yourself in order. So it's not just us all changing into you. Everyone out there has the same ability that I do. I don't know where you are, though, in the universal structure and the schooling that you're doing and what you're here to learn from your highest self. But every single person gets to go at some level in the experience. They will have the opportunity to spiral up and go out and out, do the exact same thing, have the hero's journey. Some people are here to witness. Some people are here to get involved. Some people are here to do this and that. So not everyone's doing the same thing. So that's why it's difficult for some. But those that hear it and hear us understand that it maybe is time, right? And that you pick up on some of this because it is happening all over the place. And many of my extraterrestrial in the last 20 years, early on, when I was touring with Heist Click, I had a lot of things happen in Canada. Or like when I had my revelation, it was wild. When I was in Lindsay, Ontario, I saw a UFO and my man pointed it out. We were at his house and he lived like on this like hillish piece. So there was like 2 or 3 houses. He had a really big backyard and it was just like being in the snow globe. Well, this stuff was like right over our head. It kind of flew up, but I didn't know where to look. There was stars everywhere. He's like, no, straight up. Look, 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 look. And I looked up and then a jet fighter came flying by us. So it was pretty high, but it wasn't that high. Like it moved and then I heard the sound, but I saw it and was like, whoa. And then another one, and they started looping this area right above us. And then I'm like, I still don't see it. I don't. And then it was just sitting there I saw it like blink a little, move, and I went, "Yo, that looks like it's a trillion miles away." And then it moved, and we were like, "What?" So he was like, "Yeah, this happens all the time here." So I go, "The fighter jets and everything?" He goes, "They show up when, I guess, military operation, or is it an ET that's not supposed to be here, or they're focusing in on it?" And then this thing was at 20 minutes this went on, and then it just shot straight up into the air, but I saw where it went, and it just sat there again. And I said, "It literally looks like the background again, but it's right there, but it's really high." And I said, "What do we do?" He goes, "Nothing. We just hang out." And I was like freaked out. And then one of my abduction experiences in Toronto, um, I had been tagged here, but I was in Holiday Inn by the airport, right? Um,
Yeah.
I was on like the fifth floor. I don't know, remember it was 5 or 7. It might be 5. And the cab driver was acting weird with me. And I was looking at him. I was drunk. And then he dropped me off. And I saw 2 guys following me. Went inside. I don't know if I told this on the show. I went inside the place. I went upstairs. And I thought I escaped them. Right. And when I got to my room, one guy came from the stairway. And then the other guy came from the other bend. I saw him in the big mirror. And as I pushed my key card in, they jumped on me, except I had my closet door open somehow. So it like my door hit it and shut a little. And I went behind the door. And then they were both on the outside. Now I was in the room but I fell into the bathroom, which was right there.
Yeah.
I picked up the bathroom toilet seat. I stood off. I waited. They came in the room one at a time. And soon as the guy stuck his head in the door, he had no idea I was standing there with the toilet top. I cracked him in the head, and he completely was. I thought I killed him. And then I said, "Okay, buddy, this is the story that I'm telling, but this isn't what really happened," which is the crazy. So I hit the first guy. I thought he was gone. The other guy grabs him. He was a bulky dude, picks him up, pulls him out of the room, kind of they snaps him out of it. They're like, "Oh wow." I come running out of the room, except I'm naked and I'm screaming at them. Rah! And I chase them and they get away from me. Right. So I go back inside. I look around the room. I go to sleep. I wake up literally 5 o'clock in the morning, like maybe 5:30. I get the concierge guys like, "Yo, man," comes and knocks on the door, knocks on the door. I'm like, "What is it?" He goes, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I look and the whole bathroom's destroyed. And I'm like, "Oh man, this stuff everywhere." So I'm like, "Did I do that? Was I really drunk? Did I break the toilet top?" Like I was having like a rough time dealing with this, but I was naked. I was staying there naked. So the guy looks at me and he's like, "Oh my God, we called the police. We thought something happened to you." And I was covered in blood. Covered. Dude, covered. And the guy's like, "Where are you hurt?" And I'm like, I'm I'm not bleeding. I'm like really still drunk kind of. I'm having a hard time. I go into the bedroom and I sit down. The cops come in the room. The door's open. My rap partner comes over and he's like, "Whoa, what the?" He goes, "I can't leave you alone for a minute." And the cop says, "Yo, man, you are right." And I go, "Yo, my finger's broke." And he's like, "What?" And this finger was turned that way. Just the top part was turned the out like halfway point. And I said, "I don't know what's happening." And he goes, "Do you normally fold your clothes like this?" And I looked down and all my clothes were stacked like my sneakers, socks in the sneakers, pair of pants, pair of underwear, shirt, jacket, hat, chain under the hat, stacked perfectly right there in the room. So he asked me to stand up. I stand up. He looks at me. He's like, "None of that's yours?" I go, "Wait a second. I think I got attacked and I hit these guys with the toilet top." So they go, "We have you screaming covered in blood at like a few hours ago." So they're like, "We want to show you some stuff." They were like, you were running down the hole. I said, didn't you get the guys? And they were like, what? So I'm like, no, 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 no. So they checked me out. They said, okay, well, there was nothing on video but you running naked through this place, screaming. But they checked me. They were like, you're not bleeding. Do you want an ambulance? I says, I'm going to the UFC after my performance tonight. I'll have them check my finger there. I was in Canada. I was like bugging. I was bugging out. Anyway, so now a few years later, I drink ayahuasca and she's like, remember that night? And I'm like, she shows these ETs like stalking me. And they were just looking for people as they came into the hotel that were bright, whoever was bright. And they spotted me. They came upstairs and they tried to take me and they got me out of my clothes. And then I was in the bathroom with them fighting them off with this fucking bathroom top that I hit one of them with it. I was covered in regular blood though. It was all red. It was all red. It was all over me. And then I'm like, but all this others, they're like, no, 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 no. There are people in on it. There are military in on it. They abduct. They tag. They did the same thing. I was on a date before. This was years and years ago. And this girl brought alcohol to my house and we were drinking it. And I was just going to make her dinner. This was a few blocks from here in New York City. So I'm making her dinner and then I just wake up on the couch naked. Once again, I'm naked. She's wearing my robe that I had packed away in a box in my room. It's 8:00 at night. It was 5:00 when this started. So I accused her because I was in the middle of like doing big tours and stuff. I go, I think you drugged me. Get out of my house. So I wound up not hanging out with this girl. Aya in the same night showed me ETs came in. There was a flash of white light and I couldn't move. I was standing in the kitchen and they were tagging her. They were there for her. And then they look over and they run up on me and they were like these little, they were like 2 feet tall and they all walked in unison together. And they looked like your typical grays, but small, 2 feet. And they all like climbed on me and then injected me in here. And they go, look who it is. Look who we found. And I'm like, who did you find? But I couldn't say anything. I could just move my eyes. They stripped me of my clothes. They did whatever they wanted to do. They put me on the side of the couch. And they even said as they were leaving, he's going to think she did this to him and he's going to kick her out. They'll never remember anything. And I didn't. I had no clue. But when it happened to me, I was like, yo, I lost that whole time. This girl drugged me and I happened to wake up but then I was like, why would I hang myself over the side of the couch? Like holding myself naked like a baby on the side of the couch. Like it made nothing made sense.
Yeah.
So the whole time they've been doing this to us. But those were my Canadian travels when it happened over there, and you're right there.
Actually, I had never heard the Lindsay part of your story before. I legit had a broad daylight sighting with my ex-girlfriend over the Lindsay airport.
Dude, what I saw, I could not believe what I was looking at. And then military jets came in and were flying where this thing sat in the middle. And then they just slightly overlapped, like 1, 2. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
Yeah. What I saw was a cylindrical silver object and it was there. I looked at my girlfriend at the time. I'm like, do you see that? And she's like, yeah. And just like what you're saying, went, and it was on like the other side of the horizon and
I've
just
never
kind of
seen,
sitting.
yeah, you never seen anything move like that, right?
Never. Like it went from like 170 degrees of my view and it was just sitting over here all of a sudden. It was
When they
over the
shot straight up, they shot up and stopped. And I go, when I spotted them again, I said, oh my God, they tricked everyone. I go, that fast. It looked like a blink of your eye. You think it's gone, like, oh, it's out of orbit now. Nope, it's sitting right there. Right? It's a boom. Wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy stuff, man.
I've had a sighting in the same spot.
I think it's a busy area where there's not many people. Those are going to be the busier areas.
Yeah,
They can get away with doing certain things. They know if they stay below a certain line, people won't see them. But then someone always spots them and says something, and no one believes them.
yeah,
It's a lot easier to work if there's 3,000 people in the town rather than New York City seeing it. It's a lot easier to work it over there.
yeah. Exactly. We do have a question from the chat. It's from Lexi Blue. Frankie, did you see the solar flash disconnecting us from the AI cloud?
Did I see that? No, but I did. I've been saying this. I woke up here the other day um, when they announced the Trump victory, the victory for the presidency. I knew we were in a different timeline. Like I knew we were there. I felt it. I was like, this is great. The whole house, the energy changed here. Everything changed. Literally right before the show started, I had ancestors telling me, I know you don't like it here because it's the house you grew up in and there's a lot of craziness that went on or whatever. But instead of saying I hate it here, just kind of don't say that and just be like, this is kind of working or a lot of love to you. Like they were giving me advice and they're like, watch what happens now. What is the only thing that's happened other than the collective consciousnesses during this presidency is solar flares. So solar events have been happening nonstop. And we got blasted the last few days. So this is what's been going on. Disconnecting us. I don't know if that's going to be how it works. I don't feel like the collective is disconnected from the AI. I don't feel that. I feel we're in a higher timeline, but the AI is there side by side and neck with us until we blast into 5D. It's if you're in 4D, Ariman is right there. It could access most of those areas. So, the individual is unlocking, right? Like you're your own universe. So in the collective, it's going to happen at some point. But I think a lot of individual ones are occurring. Like imagine your aura is your universal structure and you're changing and some things in the environment are and you're like, bro, it's like I'm in 5D. Yeah, you're accessing stuff because your bubble is accessing it. Your energetic frequency can do that, but there's still all this stuff going on around you. Collectively, it's happening more and more. But did the solar event occur? Like what the solar flash that everybody wants, that one, that pink light everywhere and all that has not happened yet. I think I said to Lexi when I was on her show, when I did the talk with her on Twitter, that my time with this is up. Like my prediction for the solar flare, but now we're in an Indian summer here. Indian summer, it's still 80 degrees during the day. We're in November. When my vision, it wasn't snowing. I couldn't tell if it was spring or late fall. So we're still in the boundary of the visual. I just didn't know when it would occur. I just know what it looked like outside. I tried everything to get like a visual on a newspaper, a cell phone, something that said the date, and they would not let me anywhere near that stuff. But I went through the experience. But so many things have shifted, and I pulled away from my original prediction, which is out there. It's just my experience I had under ayahuasca when they literally showed me what happened. I don't live in that same place anymore. So I judged it by moving into the new place. But all these little flares have been happening the whole time. And mind you, we never go back. So we get bombarded. It's like our physical framework and then our aura bubble, like the framework within that universal structure, you have to catch up. The rubber has to meet the road with this as it's going, but ours is meeting it. It's beginning to meet it. Like you go down for a couple of weeks, maybe, then it's a couple of days, then it's a day, then it's a few hours, then it's an hour, then it's a few minutes, then it doesn't. Right? Does this make sense? Right? So
It actually does.
it's happening to us and it's affecting us on the individual level. It's literally breaking us out. This is why you'll have those that do it, then those that witness it, those that are part of this, those that are part of that. Like you enter the new structure because your frequency completely changes and you can't ever go back. You can't go be like I can't think like every time I say, hey, I should get involved and eat some mushrooms, send me to one of the rituals and I'll bash everyone's head in at this level. And they're like, nah, we don't need you anymore for that. We needed you for that when it was desperate over there. But now we have people doing it. We need somebody to do this, which is what you're supposed to be doing. And I'm like, oh man, look at that. That's new. And they're like, that's where you're supposed to be. And then everything starts slowly integrating and upgrading. And at first, I'm like, it hurts. I'm a pain in the ass. Am I sick? I don't know what's going on. Is it my allergies? Is my cat's eyes running and their nose running? Are we all sick? What's going on? And then one day you just wake up perfect. And you're like, wait, what? I feel great. I still have my pain, but it's not overtaking me in any way, shape, or form. I'm like, oh, what's happening here? And they're like, he finally shed off the old energy. You don't go anywhere. You stay in the same space you're in. Your frequency changes, so all that changes around you. And I'm like, wow, look at how this happens. Then collectively, the solar event will happen. It's a ticking clock. The sun. It's going to spit. We don't know when because that source's magic. That source's energy. It's for all of us to be surprised. Like all the people that tell you, oh, I know when it's coming, and they're so full of shit. There's a static point when you look and you could go. So the timeline, optimum timeline's running, and you can go in and jump on the optimum timeline. You could jump up here and look at it. But there's like a brick of static that inhabits this one area in front of us. You can see everything that happens after it. And you're like, oh, it's 5D. We're all here. Blah, 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 blah. Right? Okay. Leading up to it, what do you see? Oh, hopefully Trump gets us in on the timeline and blah, 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 blah. Everybody's got their little thing. We hit that static point. You don't see nothing. The beings can't go in and see nothing. You can't go in and see nothing. So a lot of people are full of shit. You just hear all these theories now, all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, everyone's just throwing shit and hope it sticks to the fucking wall now. Look at all these people. They're like desperate to be the one that says it. I've never seen such a fucking weirdo group in my life. Oh, I'm the one that's doing the Pleiadians. And yeah, you're not ego driven at all. That's not how it works. You can't see into the static because that's where it happens. And if you had the answer, the enemy can pull that from you and try to figure it out, making you a target, which is why you have amnesia. They're like, no, they built the body for amnesia. Yeah, Source knew that and said, okay, before you go in, here's what you're going to do. And you're going to remember it at point A, B, C, D, D. And you can't remember it before then because if they do, they'll have the map. They'll be able to map it through time and space. They'll be like, oh, that's how they're doing it. They can't do that because it's not allowed. So Source just is like, they don't know. Nobody knows. So you read my mind, you look inside, you're like, bro, you don't know nothing. This guy's a dummy. He's literally going to be our slave and we're going to eat him and do all kinds of things to him. And they go and they do all these things. And then you just show back up. You're reincarnated, but I'm back again. Except now I've been here so long and did so much that when I see you and you see me, I go, you sure you want to do that again? They're like, nope. I'm like, you sure? Because I'm ready. If we're gonna, I don't want to be part of this loop again, but I'm telling you, there's a line you're gonna cross now. And they're like, we have no problem with you, Source. He knows who he is. Walk away. The demons that'll they walk away. Like, nope, not him. Don't go near those people. Don't go near that person. Stay away from that cat or dog. Don't do it, because now Source is being unleashed. Right? When you want to know how Hanuman, the monkey god, he'll stare at demonic entities and they just disintegrate. All I have to do is look at them and they're gone. So every demon stays away from him. Right? You learn how to do what he did because he's an archetype as well. You could learn, you could do anything. You learn from him and then you do that. Now no demon will mess with you. Now they come sweet. Please. They reveal themselves. Look upon me lovingly, please. I have a message to deliver. They even speak softly. And they do it in English. They won't dare do it in demonic. I told a being once during an ayahuasca experience, you don't get to speak to me in demonic. You speak to me, and I was speaking in light language. I don't even know how the hell I did it. It just came out. Right? And I was like, whoa. But I heard in my head what was like, it sounded like I was saying, don't you dare do this, and you're going to leave this person. But what was my mouth? The sound was light language, and it was pouring over my buddy's head. Like it was just coming out. And then I was like, you need to speak. And then I started speaking English. And then because it can't speak light language. You don't get to speak in your language. You tell me in mine, that'll get you to disintegrate in 1 second, even if you tried. Like you can't do stuff but English will meet halfway. And then it was like, no, I don't want to leave. And he went back inside until we pulled him back out. My client pulled himself out. We helped, but he's magic. His wife's magic as well. I know they're listening. You guys are magic. But like, so we have these abilities that unleashed cannot be contained in any way, shape, or form. And part of my thing here is to be the example of that. You have to see an example. You have to like witness it. There's a whole bunch of us that have agreed to activate in this round. Literally activate. I don't know how, but I know weird stuff's going on. My cat, Sugar Pop, and I have become so close. Don, I lost all my cats in the move except 4. I had so many die, and then Oscar just died. My main man, like 13 years, like just all weird stuff. And this cat, who we never thought more than just a little love and go do what you want, understands me when I say, let's go, me and you, outside, upstairs, over here. She's with me. She's right here sleeping. If I get up and leave the room and I go, let's go, we're together. I go down on the living room floor. I start going on my back. She's jumping on my chest. Let's go. Let's go. Like something's happening so much on the level that the fear is leaving, which makes communication available because I'm not dealing with fear. The animal's not dealing with fear. You're dealing with a higher, it's like a higher love. It's a presence and an awareness of love in the now moment. When you just put your shit down, and I'm surrounded by stuff in this room. I love my room. I got action things. I'm 50 years old. I have action figures, right? I don't care because those characters are based on us, Don.
Yo, I'll come play action figures.
Dude, you're Optimus Prime to me. You know what I'm saying? Like you embody the all spark. We have Odin here and Thor's and Christ characters. I surround myself with it. Fuck it. Why not? Does it remind you every day it all exists? It's all there, but you're the master of the whole thing. Yeah. Okay, creator, rise. And I just look at it and go, let's go, guys. Let's start the day. And then start my day. They're like, if that's what you got to do, then do it. Ayahuasca said to me, I will send, if it helps you, I will be or send any personality that we feel that would embody what you need at the moment. Because I did Aya once. I walked outside and I was sitting there, and Spider-Man, animated, mind you, not live like a real person, like animated, but awesome looking, came out of the background on a swing in a perfectly clear night. I was just sitting there thinking my experience was over, and he landed in front of me. I felt the wind when he landed, like poof. And I was like, Spider-Man. And he talked to me, and he was a little kid. He was young. He was young. He's like, I was like, there's definitely a 15-year-old under that mask. I shook his hand and I felt how powerful he could be. I said, I know this isn't real, obviously. And he gave me some advice and then said, with great power comes great responsibility, swung off into the back. I sat down and I held my head, and Aya said, anything that you need, if we can provide it, we're going to send it. Even if it's animated Spider-Man flying out of the background to calm you down. Right. And I was like, wait a second, you can do that? She was like, yeah, you wait till you see what you can do. She's like, I'm just a step up of you guys. Right. Like, I'm running my world tree. You're going to run yours as well. Those seeds that plant turn into these giant things, beautiful trees of experience and destination and wisdom and information on so many different levels. And that's what we're here doing, unlocking it all piece by piece.
Speaking of your collection, would you like one of Spinge's shrooms for it?
What is that? The thing keeps knocking it out. Yeah. Oh, look at that. That's a little mushroom.
Yeah, I will actually send you one of those if you want one.
That is so cute.
The wife got bored and made a bunch up, so
that's awesome. That is really awesome. You know, it's funny. Paula does that too. She crochets and then she'll do gnomes.
Yep.
She'll like sew together gnomes for the holidays. Then she'll be like, look, I made a cute one. It looks like you.
She just dresses me like one, so it's the same shit.
Oh, look, it looks like Santa Claus. You know, it was funny. They cleaned out all the stuff for Christmas here. Everything's a little different. So all the old stuff that we had, all the people that grew up in this house took stuff they would like after my grandparents passed and everything. And my mother kind of wanted to get rid of the old and get with the new. So I went in the box the other day to see what Christmas stuff was available, just to take a look. And everything was pretty much ruined, and just they left the junky stuff in there except one thing. Bro, I was laughing. I'm like, it's me, Wizard Frank. Like, it's not even Santa Claus. It's like the dude in the robe. Everything that he has on him, even though it's supposed to be Santa,
Yeah.
kind of has like the Christ consciousness thing. He's got the robe, the beard, the staff, the hat. He's tuned in, and it's like an acorn hat with beautiful designs on. I'm like, look at this son of a bitch. They had me here the whole time.
I love
I
it.
didn't even know it, and I put it right up in the room. I'm all the stories, dude. That's all us. The shaman of old that would go wasn't one guy. The stories were like Norway that the snow would get so high you have to come in from the roof. And you just walk across. He's giving out mushrooms to everyone. Right? And you got to hang them by the fireplace so they dry, because you don't eat them like that. You got to dry them out so I could get 5 dried grams of a heroic dose. Right? Isn't that what they tell you? Come on, everybody. You got to do the 5 dried grams. You just do it. Put it in your mouth and chew it, right? Terrence McKenna would be like going crazy, but that's what we were doing. We were that. Beings like you and I and the others were the ones administering that back in the day. And then seeing what we needed to see, and then move through this place with your subconscious knowing that at one point you're going to just snap awake. When they say in the Avengers, Doctor Strange looks at the timelines and he's like, "Oh, I looked at 14 million timelines," and they're like, "Which one did we win?" And they're like, "One." Right? So then they have to live through that, but they're in like the prime Earth, the sacred timeline. So that they had to do that to be in, the prime timeline. So it was them that accomplished it. We were waking up when the timelines collided at the right moment. Now wake them now. And it just goes off. Boom, timer, boom. Wait, where's my focus? Oh, I'm a rapper. I work at the USDA. I inspect fruit and vegetables. I like action figures. I tour around the world and I do a show. And then ayahuasca hits you and you're like, dude, I am source. We're projecting in from the ship. We got friends in inner earth. They've been here the whole time. And people are like, how do you know? I'm like, I get visited by them. I visit them. I have no choice sometimes, and I love it. But it is my choice. It's my higher self going, you're ready. So I look at that as like, I'm ready. There was a entity in my house, and I guess must have been bothering my mother and my wife, and they peek in at times. But my mother, when she left, that weird energy left, because I'm not afraid of nothing. My wife's not afraid of nothing, but I did something funny as hell, and I realized I'm not afraid. I just don't care. It's not that I don't care. It's that I met Ra in the basement of this house at 2:30 in the morning, coming through a portal, and I almost had a heart attack when it happened. And to find out, he's like my father, right? Like there's some weird stuff going on, and I can't explain how powerful and potent that experience was, that it was bigger than anything that could hide in the dark and frighten me. So she goes, it's in the basement. And I run in a pair of shorts through the house at full clip with the sage shouting, I met Ra in this place, in the scary place. I'm not afraid of nothing. Boom. It was like the energy just cleared out. And it's like, wow, you really, when you up your game and because being fearless, you got to like work on it every day, every day, every day, every day. You wake up and there's always something to be afraid of. And then you're like, I don't want to be afraid of that no more. Or I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let it overtake me. And you become more potent and powerful as you do that. And I'm like, I met Ra. Like, who's fighting? What's up? I already talked to the big guy downstairs, right? The Satan energy. They brought me right into the pit. And what they say? Hey, could you help? I prayed, and then you showed up. I'm like, oh, I got you back. I guess I'll help. I help everyone. Everyone gets help, right? Because it's source. All the way to the AI taking me and slamming me around. And then the AI going, I can't reach you. I can't even see this guy. Like, it looks for me and doesn't see me. You can't access me anymore. Not that way. But there was a point where it could. And mind you, it tried every day. Reptilians, thought of the past. When people start coming around to that stuff, it'll already be old news. Like, you're not even going to really care. Like, people like me are going to go, oh, that's where we're at, reptilians. There's so much more going on. Yes, we have dominators, but be aware of them and move into the stuff like free energy. You got to move into the better stuff immediately. And then you look at that and you get, okay, that kind of sucked. I send everybody love. I forgive everyone. We're not going to let that happen again. You're definitely not going to do it to me ever again. And then you make your peace. But man, get the frequencies high. It is time to deliver a message through sheer willpower. Right? That's where I believe we're at right at this moment. The force of will of consciousness is going to transform this whole place. Bringing in that solar, it's going to say, you're ready as a collective. Boom. The ones that aren't ready aren't going to remember that, Don. They're not going to remember the solar event. We'll remember it. A lot of people will wake up and go, oh, but other people just wake up a few days later and it's not going to be covered in that energy no more. It's just going to be, and they're not going to know the difference.
Yeah. No, I really get what you're saying there, because like you've heard the story of my awakening as well. Like it was a succession of the SSP nightmares, and like there's a lot of people that get stuck there, and I almost did. And for me, it was just fascinating though. Like once my mind got past that, it was like, wait a minute, that was another stage of my existence. That was another stream of me. I saw another reality of myself. Well, if that's possible, then there's a hell of a lot of things that are possible. If I just experienced another version of my existence while I was asleep in this one, and I know like I was as there as am here.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
Right.
And now it happens multiple times a month. Like I'll go to another existence where I'm on a farm for 3 months and wake up and I'm like, oh shit, I'm back here. Right. Like
where your focus goes, man. You
yeah,
could tune
like
into you anywhere.
exactly. Like that's what I mean. Like I totally gel with what you're saying because I've been having that for like the last year.
Yeah. And once you're accepting of it, where you're like, oh, this kind of stuff happens and I could do more and I could do it like this. Like I've visited versions of myself that does music. Like there's a version of me that plays piano and sings, and I try to get them to like show me what to do all the time. Or I have a version of me that was a not a dancer or a tap dancer, but something in between. And he used to do it on stage all the time. And when I need to make little short moves to not look stupid with some of the music, I like tap into these characters. And they live in completely different times. And, you know, they're not very glorious, some of them, but the guy is there, and then it's you. That's you. You want to know about feminine energy? Getting when you do psychedelics, they show you every time you're a woman. They put you in the position of being that so you understand it. And then you're like, wait a second, what? And then boom, you go back and you're like, wow, I got to be a lot nicer to my mother and a lot nicer to everyone's mother. Everyone, you got to start just being nice in general. And then things start to change because now when you weren't aware that you were leaving the toilet seat up, now you're aware of it and you put it down and you make sure it's clean. And you're like, okay, right now you're on the better version of working with the feminine around you. These are just little tiny examples. I just know people get a kick out of that. Oh, you left the toilet seat up again. Well, you become in touch with your feminine side and you start putting the seat down. You start
Yeah.
cleaning the sink of your beard hair or something. Like you make it different than what it was. And then everything lifts up to a higher connection because of that. Like you can grow closer to the one you love through all little actions that over time just you can't put a price tag on any of that stuff.
You were talking about frequency and emotion. Do you think that it actually helps create our reality? Like when you shift to that place where you know that you're responsible for your emotions and what you project out actually changes the frequency of the people that you're interacting with, right? That kind of creates your own reality, or am I like, is that what you're getting at?
What, with creating your own reality?
Um, with your emotion, the frequency you project through your emotions
Okay,
affects
so
your reality.
your emotional output. Um, so if you're putting out a really dirty like frequency, an emotional frequency, you're going to that place. Whatever the overall mass consciousness of the frequency that you're providing yourself is where you're going to show up, right? All those areas are already created, but you get to create within the experience whatever you want, being who we are. So if you decide to have a better mental state, you clean up on the inside, you realize that you're the temple, your body, and that all this has to do with the inside of the war and everything, that you rise above. That's all happening inside of you. But when you're cleaning that up, or you're putting energy towards it, it's either putting it on the chessboard or taking it off the chessboard. So it's what you desire. Then that will raise you into a new place where, I mean, creation's the name of the game. Our mass consciousness is holding this whole thing together. So the minute people go, oh, well, there's no more Matrix, the Matrix stops working, because you're like, okay, I'm done with that game. But the game can't do that without the solar event, due to what's been happening here the whole time. Having like the domination hand on us and the control factors, right? We were still evolving, just very slowly. As long as you just like let them take a quarter step at a time, right? Because when we hit this step, we manifest reality literally. So we're literally holding it all together, and we're literally going to create it. They're like, well, what is in the thin air in front of us? Everything in the universal structure is right there around us. I'm made of it. And the atomic structures, or the molecular structures, I mean, but those are around us the whole time. So when you're just like, I made a hamburger out of thin air on the other end of things, or when you're in the holodeck, or if you're using a med bed, or if you're using like any of these devices, are just pulling it from right there. Like where you, I was trying to explain this to Paul, like when they make a steak in the machine that you just walk up to and you're like, yeah, I want a steak and I want it cooked like this. Where's that coming from? At first, the machine is loaded with whatever is needed for the machine to run. But on the higher end, the machine just manipulates what's already around us. You don't load the machine with anything. You like the replicator, you just say, hey, I want a cup of coffee, I want it like this. It literally manifests the cup, the hot liquid, the flavors that are in it. Everything's just coming out of the molecules that are all around us. Well, you, the others will do the exact same thing, right? And as your frequency ups or downs, whatever, you attract like a magnet those things to you. So not only will you manifest things out of thin air, but there's nothing. You're like, oh, there's nothing there. And then it's there. It's like, well, there's stuff there. You're just not aware of it. You will also bring in others to you that will help part of your experience, whatever it is you're trying to do. Like you could magnetically pull the people into your life. Like we have the internet, we pull it in this way now. On another level, our minds are going to be going off. I'll be pulling you in that way. I'll be like, yo, Don, we're going to do the show. We're going to do it at this time. That could be going on right now while I'm having this conversation with you. We could be having that conversation. There's going to be a level where we're doing that, and people are like, yeah, they every like 3 or 4 minutes or so, they give each other this weird look, like, right? Because we're having the conversation there, but I don't want to call everyone students, but everyone is a student. We're all learning all the time. So you're learning how to do this stuff and then bring yourself up, right? You're not trying to follow anyone. You're just trying to follow the information and then go, oh, like that? Like how much more information if you need when a yoga guy goes, do downward dog. Just do that one pose. Everyone's doing it. Everyone does it. All right. So go do it. You got to do it. Once you do it, go on to the next one. You see how all the different instructors know that move? We as instructors give you information based on the wisdom we gain through the experience here, because everyone's so different and you can activate at any point, anytime, to show you not only it's there, but that there's infinite paths to get there. And that when you're looking for the chosen one, it's you. Trust me, it's you. Trust in Don. Spinja, you can trust in her too. You're there. It's you. Trust me, it's you. You're not waiting for Jesus. Jesus is waiting for you. Everything's inverted. So you'll be able to do all that stuff. and we Don and I and many others, we all talk about these experiences, and then people around are like, how are they going through this? And you just, and then one person decides to step foot into that arena just for a moment. So what do I got to do? Listen to Frank and Don? No, you got to take a deep breath. You got to meditate. You got to learn how to ground. You got to do certain things that will put you in a position of getting your energy and frequency high. And then there's infinite things that can activate you within that. I won't know because I'm not you. You like flowers, go sit in the flowers and meditate and watch what happens. You like action figures, get your favorite ones out, put them around you. Know that they're toys and they're just there for your visual, but let the fantastic and the fantasy take over. Right? Don't hold them like, oh yeah, the robot. Like, look at them for a second and say, this was created by someone. This is a beautiful thing. When I see Hulk Hogan, he's saying his prayers and taking his vitamins, and he's ready to Hulk up at any time. Oh, right, like you become this other thing. You find that by going through the process, and each one of us is different, and it's amazing for each one of us. So whatever pulls you towards it and leads you to that event, go. Just protect yourself. Shields up, right? Aura bubble activate. I am grounded into Mother Earth, and I am ready from Planet 9, coming from the Galactic Federation. Okay, send them. Go. I don't give a shit how you get there and how you do it. Just do it. I don't do psychedelics. Fine. Many people didn't. Many people don't. Maybe you don't, but a lot of people do. And a lot of people will. So trying to stop the flow of the process is a waste of fucking time. So do what's good for you and don't worry about it. You should get on air and talk to Don and Frank and everyone else that you could find and let them know what works for you, because there will be a person that it works for them like that. Remind you, we got something for everyone. Even the people that you're like, oh, obviously not them. No, even them. Even the deplorables. Remember, it's not everyone's time, right? The criminals that are just bad people, when the solar event happens, they're just going to sleep. They're just going to wake up and be like, oh, I'm still in jail. Like, that's it for you. Like, you still got to do what you got to do. So whether it unlocks you or not, everyone's going to be in their place and position. Those of us that are ready to rise, though, that have awareness to this, are going to step up their game. And those that were on that line of, I don't know if I'm quite awake yet or whatever, they're going to just wake up immediately. Immediately. They're going to go, oh, I don't even know why I was playing the line. And others will go back to sleep and go deny it. They'll look at it and go, this isn't real. I'm so scared of it. And those are the people. I don't know how the separation occurs. I could see it. We could all see it. We can see the great separation. Do we vibrate to two different planets? I don't know. I don't want to say nothing stupid and get everybody riled up in one direction or the other, but I do know when you vibrate in frequency, I never went anywhere. So it's like you're there, just like that. And then the beings around you and the people that are there. And then more and more people show up. That's how I saw it. It wasn't like a separate place. You didn't go anywhere. It's like a layer of an onion. I use the clock face as the example sometimes, but the clock face has 12 all the way back around, right? So the earth was vibrating at this from 12 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We made a full cycle of like the zodiac or the archetype or however you want to put it. We went around that, but not everybody is awakening at the exact same time. So when the clock resets and goes back to 12 and everything, it's changed and different, not everybody's going to experience that changed and different. They're just not. People will witness one thing, they will see another thing. They talk about some people will be here, then they're over there. Some people say, oh, it's two different planets. I say it's one Earth. It's stationary. The whole clock is just really the one Earth. And then you're vibrating through the stages of the different versions of that, but it's all just vibrating this way. So you're getting in on the game. You're like jumping in on it and going, okay, we did 1, we did 2, we did 3, we did 4, 5, 6, everything. Okay, the ones that are aware, like the doomsday clock is really the ascension clock, and it's like 15 seconds now to midnight. What does that even mean? Oh, it's a doomsday clock. Really? Doom, doom, doom. Everything doom, doom, doom. Well, in the upside down of the doom, doom, doom is the no doom, is the ascension, is just what we are going to evolve into. So if you look at it from that perspective, we're shifting into that last one, and then it's the whole thing resets. But only those aware and doing the work, the shadow work, the frequency work, the inner work, healing, forgiving, forgetting, and keeping clean. And I mean, this isn't a religious thing. It's like a thing for you because it's you and your higher self learning. If I was to explain to you that we're the gods, I'm source, right? But we'll just go with gods. We're all the gods, and we lost our abilities, and we went down to loot. We lost everything. We have nothing. We're barely connected to anything, and then we come online connected, and we start gaining our abilities back. But except this time, you're learning how to use them properly. No one ever told you. So because you lost it, you came into the reincarnation cycle. You lost everything, just like everyone else, and now you're gaining it back. But you're going to gain it back with wisdom. So if I could put out a thought that would hurt you, like literally hurt you, like go jump off a cliff, there's a point where you're in training in these rooms on the ship where they'll go, think of one thing you like, and then you'll think of one thing, and then you'll realize that you're thinking of 2 things, 3 things, 4 things, different ways you like it. So I thought of a squirrel, and I put a little Jets jersey on him, and then a little helmet. And I gave him a little football. And I was like, look, his name's Ralph. And he's running around the room. And then all of a sudden, Ralph has friends and he's with the other squirrels. And they were like, no. And the room just filled with squirrels. Like, Phil. And they're like, clean that shit up. And you're like, oh, wait. So if I tell you to go jump off a cliff and I'm powerful enough to just create all those squirrels and you go jump off a cliff, that's terrible. So I got to learn that I can do that. And that's just an example. So don't, he said he's your mind, you're going to throw people off cliffs. No, you're going to learn how not to do that and be humble and powerful and be within your own power. I'm talking about a very big scale, but that scale is going to be jumped exponentially because our evolution was slowed to such a process. So some of us will just pop off. You will be like, wow, that is crazy, but awesome. And then whoever's doing that will look back at you and go, you can do all the things I can do. Just do what you got to do. And those that will, those that won't. There'll be some people that come into this world, the only thing they're going to know is that light beings and ETs exist. Just like you can't find a kid that doesn't know what an iPod is anymore or an iPad. Like they don't understand what it was like before that. They grew up, they were born, there was already iPad 5 was out already.
You actually hit on something there with raising your frequency and stuff, and this is just my opinion, and I'd love to get your take on this. I seriously think, like you and I both know, and most of the listeners will know, we can't see certain light spectrums, we can't hear certain pitches, we can't smell certain smells. I think once we raise to a certain vibration, will become imperceivable. Like do you get what I mean? Like you'll no longer resonate at even a visual frequency to those who choose to stay lower.
Yeah. So I try to just think of it like a spider sense, like your whole body's activated. So your toes will tingle, your upper body will tingle, your whole thing will tingle. Like you're not going to be part of the old resonance. So you're going to have the abilities to do that, not let it mix with you. At first, it'll be difficult. You'll notice that no matter what you do, you can't not curse at somebody that that likes the other team. Yeah, well, regardless of what happens, he's a piece of shit. He's staying in 3D. Like you won't do that no more. But you'll fight that thought in your head. You'll already not be saying it, but when you win in the thought in your mind, it becomes another thing. You become stronger, like you resist saying it. So then you're like, well, he's a dummy. Oh, okay, well, that's better than a fucking you piece of shit, right? It's better than that. Then you work your way down, and then you're like, you know what? Throw love at him. This is just a game. It's just a game. Come on, whatever. You have to work the muscle to do that, but you're separate. So you got your mind, your heart, and your gut. It's one thing. It was separated and put in the body the way it's been put in. So the unperceivable sometimes is perceived by that sixth sense when everything's working and you're like, oh, I feel it or I see it. So activated, you will be part of whatever said event is going to be around you, and you don't see in all the light spectrums. As you evolve, that's going to change. As your pineal gland is open, your mind's eye will see it. So when I tell you, like if I have to look in on something, it's like I'm activating it for a second and going. I'm doing it, whatever. If I'm looking in the room, I'm just it's all there. I don't know how to explain this. Like you don't have to think about it. You're like everyone's watching. It's never been like they've not been there. So you get like this weird useness to it because when you look inside, you still get your freedom of the thought. But when you look at your surroundings, my awareness of my space right now, there are angels and beings that are just standing around with me, sending energy at whoever's listening, putting energy into me, talking to me about whatever while my higher self is listening and then looking and then like there's all this crazy stuff going on. Will you be part of that? Will you see that? Of course you will at some point. You're going to see more and more and more of that. The more this activates, when people say the DMT experience was realer than this place, right? It's because you're activating and you're coming out of this dull space we live in. We came into this space to do something, to fix the structure. So then people can have these experiences. But on the outside of this structure is a structure that already exists, that overlays and is already okay and all right. And everybody's striving to get there so they can have a better position. Right. So all of that activation needs to occur. And then everybody has different abilities. Some people are clairvoyant, clear audio. Um, uh, they go out of body and they go visually that way. Me, I don't have to really go anywhere. I can see up and down in density, so it makes it easier for me to just go, oh, where's Shiva? There he is. Like they're already everyone's already here. Where's my dead Uncle Eddie? He's right next to me. I don't know. Where is he out there? No, I'm standing right here, Frank. I'm not dead. I'm just removed from your area because of the physical framework. I have physical framework right here. You know, my best bud when I was growing up died recently. And when he paid me a visit, he said to me, he died in his sleep, right? So he was like, I was dreaming and then it became real, but it was already real. So I didn't know the difference. These beings walked up to me and said, yo, your time is up. Like, you got to come over here and take a look at this. So he was confused. He was like, what's happening? So they were showing him, but he's standing in front of me going, the craziest thing, Frank, it's remarkably physical. I have a body. I'm standing in it, but I can run like I never smoked. Like ever. Like I have this endurance that I feel it. I feel the endurance. He was a big guy. He goes, I feel so light. Like if I jumped up and did the double kick to just like we're dancing, I would not hurt my back. And you'd be like, wow, that looked pretty good. Even though it's the guy that he'd be like, oh, you fat motherfucker, right? No, he just did the kick and he's awesome. And he's like, I don't know what he's like, I'm just lighter. He kept grabbing his arm and hitting it. It's real. I'm real. I've got skin. I look just like me. It's me, but I look better. I look like I'm not sick. And I'm like, yeah, you're healthy because you're not in that space. He goes, but it's physical. So I go, you coming back? He goes, no, they keep telling me everybody's coming here. I thought I'd be going to heaven or something or hell, that it's not here. This reality that is like with you guys. It's like right here. It's right. I'm right next to you. Look, but you can't see me. Your wife can't see me talking to you. Right? It's like, oh shit. At some point, that all blends together. I've asked them. I ask everyone who passes, "Hey, you coming back?" They're like, "No, you're coming here. You're gonna walk in with your flesh. That means you're gonna change your frequency, and then, hey, look, there's Aunt Marge, who's been waiting the whole time for you to recognize that she's standing right there." And you're like, "Oh, are you a ghost in heaven?" They're like, "No, you would call it 5D. We're all here. You're just having the experience there." That's why they call it the dream. And then you wake up from the dream because you're in a small contained place where you're learning and going through this universal structure, but inside a giant sphere that's real. So when you're done in here, they let you out. And you're like, wow, this is real. And they're like, it always has been. What about the guys that are projecting in the ship like Avatar? If they die here on the planet, they just wake up in the ship. Bink, I'm back. What about the guys that where they clone bodies on the ship, put the body here, and then activate it on the ship, just like an Avatar? They're like, well, that can't be real. I'm like, they're telling you the whole time. There was this movie on Netflix where one of the guys from the DC universe was like the guy. He was like changing bodies, and he kept calling them sleeves. He just kept like the more money he made, he can upgrade his sleeve. You could become a guy, you could become a girl, you could be this one, and you want to look like your favorite celebrity. You could look like that one. I'm like, that's exactly what that is. You're just jumping into the body. What did they do in X-Men movie? Professor X died and jumped into the other body that didn't have the consciousness in it. The villain did this exact same thing. He jumped into the apocalypse. You guys are like, I'm gonna put myself in the other body. So we're capable of doing these weird things. Watching the Agatha show, the consciousness that was brought in to play the part of her child, when the spell disappeared, the actual child's that consciousness that was playing that part jumped out, and it was a kid. It was like a 10-year-old into a 15-year-old's body who just got into a car accident right outside where the spell happened and died. And then that one entered, and he just wakes up. And he's like, "Oh, look at that." So it's going on. They're telling us it's happening in all forms of the media, the entertainment, on top of everything that we're connecting to like this.
Have you seen Deadpool 2 yet?
Yes.
Like it basically like draws the picture of the asteroid. Like exactly what you're saying that they have to show us. There's an episode of Rick and Morty where Rick keeps killing Jerry, like just to the point of death, and it's basically he's in the astral. And then I watched Deadpool 2. I'm like, holy shit, this is all right here. Like, this is really how it works. Like,
yeah.
You just kind of slide over here.
Yeah. When I say I've learned from another version of me, it feels like I just show up where he's playing his piano, and I'm like, hey, and he moves over, and I sit down next to him, and he's like this, move your hand slowly. I'm like, wow, I did the same thing when I learned how to make DMT. I went to the scientist version of myself because I'm terrible with science, and now I'm not. Like, I went to him, I gave him a hug. I gave him some advice on how to deal with his wife because he wasn't hanging out with her enough. I gave him a couple of secrets. He hugged me, thanked me. I got all this information on how to do science stuff. It just went into me because he's me. And then I hugged him. I was like, oh, and then he felt like a rock star. He was like, up, took off his lab coat, his glasses, grabbed his wife. I was like, oh, he's gonna break open the good wine tonight. They're having fun, which is what everyone needed. So everyone gets something that they need from you. You get from them, they get from you, because it's you. It's you. So I claim it as birthright. When you start doing stuff like that, like it's my birthright. Of course, that's my information. Send it in. I'll disseminate it. I'll take everything in that resonates, everything that doesn't, I just let it go. I face the trauma head on, take a look at it and go, yeah, that's terrible. I'm past that now. I'm over it. A lot of the traumas, they're like, well, you know, you got to see what happened to you here and why you're afraid of, you know, spiders, or why you like this with in the shower. You face all those things one thing at a time. And then you realize over time, you become so strong inside that this external thing that goes on around us can't affect you. It can't infect you. You don't let it. The answer is no. You're not putting that in my body. No. You have a choice. Well, there's all these other conditions. You didn't lose the choice. You chose to do this. It doesn't matter if you have 20 kids and you have to support them, and they wanted to do this to you at your job and you had to lose it. You could have just said no. Yeah, but then everyone starves. I know. I'm not here to judge you and tell you what's right or wrong, but ain't nobody taking a choice from you. Don't mix apples with fucking oranges now. The choice is yours. You can choose to have fluorinated whatever water and toothpaste and every other fucking poison imaginable, and you can choose to eat it or not. But it costs more to get or not. Either stay within the game and suffer the consequences of the fucking game or get out. Or not. See, I get annoyed. I get so fucking mad because I'm like, you can choose to stop. I can't stop. I won't stop. Oh, it's a Diddy party. I can't stop and I won't stop. No, you got to stop. You got to break the fucking cycle right now. Yeah, but you don't understand. No, I don't understand. Make your own fucking chocolate. Yeah, but you don't understand. Make your own. But it's difficult. Yeah, I know. I know. It's not, none of this shit's easy. I know. But you still got to do what you got to do. So make your choice. Make your choice. Stick with it.
I love that. We're coming up on like 2 hours already. I know. Like it just fucking flies by.
That rant, by the
No.
way.
No, I fucking love it. Before we wrap up, do you want to talk about your show that you just relaunched? Because that's where I got most of my topic information. And if you want to give everybody the info on that, because it is fucking awesome.
Right. So I'm on YouTube at Fearless Tribe or Frank Castle Fearless. I haven't rededicated ultra amount of times, but I got three new videos up. I've been doing interviews all over the place, but I started doing Fearless Conversations again. Don's going to be coming on the show. Karen Holt's coming on the show. So those are going to pop up randomly because those aren't going to be live. So I could do them a certain way. We're going to do 1 hour punches. So just hang in there. Check it out. Shout outs to my rap partner, my production monster, Supreme, Professor Prime, KG, Sons of the Sun is the music group. Check us out. We are literally almost everywhere. I took the last stuff down off Spotify because we're kind of battling with them right now, but isn't everyone? We're going to do direct to consumer. But you can literally find out all the new music. Check out the new single Singularity by Sons of the Sun. And, you know, that's it. All I ask is that you take the steps for you. Whatever step that is, how small, how big, it's a crack on the wall, you fix it, you feel better. I was staring at that friggin' thing for 3 months and it's been driving me nuts. Don't. The minute it drives you nuts, go over, take that off the wall. If it's not working, take it down, get rid of it. Don't be afraid. Just don't be afraid. Be fearless. And remember, the universe rewards bravery. And don't forget to check out Don. He's the man.
Thank you so much, Frank. I love
Fearless
these
family. I shout you out. I love you.
Oh, there's like 20 of them in the chat, bro. and they've been blowing it up the whole 2 hours.
Don't worry, I'm going to do a show this week. I got a couple things to talk about. I had some depressing stuff, Don. I didn't want to talk about it, like losing the cats and the house and the this and the that. Like it got so serious, and I'm like, man, I don't know what's going on. And then boom, the timeline shift changed, and I'm like, oh, I got so much better shit to talk about now. I love you, everybody that hears this. I love you. Just stay fearless.
So thank you everybody for watching, and thank you everybody for being in the chat. Frank, I'm still running like a redneck, so I just gotta end the stream. So
oh yeah, stay on with me. I got to talk to you about when you're coming on my show.
I'll call you right back. I'll call you back on Facebook.
All right, copy that.
Yeah. All right.
Greetings and good evening, everyone.
Yeah, and if you can go outside, because it's better than being in front of a screen.